It is amazing how the weekend went by so fast, and gladly it is another Monday. Good morning and welcome to another exciting episode of Tea or Coffee on High Impact TV. Of course, you know that we are the first full HD TV station in Nigeria. How awesome, isn't it? My name is Mudukwe Jacobs, and of course I have with me
Ronke Ashiru. Why can't you just say my name? Say
How
my
are you
name,
feeling?
say my name.
Oh, wow. Next time I will do that.
All right.
I'll sing it.
All right, welcome.
Yes.
This is a wonderful morning, the Monday morning, the first working day in the week. You're welcome to Tea or Coffee. Like we always say, the station is the first full HD television
Yes, amazing.
in Nigeria. It's so amazing. Okay, we have a lot of things lined up for you today. And you know that education is a passport to the future. And so today we will be talking about what?
The effectiveness of education in this present age.
Exactly, effectiveness. How effective do you think education is these days?
Well, for me, it's two ways.
Okay.
Sometimes, we've seen people that did not even get proper education, become successful. And then we see young people wanting to toe that line because they're like, okay, why should I spend so many years in an institution when I can easily just focus on my talent and then, become successful? So while some other people that actually go, for years, go for years to university and then study a particular, course, come out and then there's no job and you're wondering why?
Why did
I have to, spend so many years in university when I could have just focused on my, talent and become successful? So then it questions, how effective education is when you come out of, school and then no job.
All right, but the thing is it only for you to make money? That's why you go to school?
Well, I must say for young people now, money is the most important
thing.
Yes.
All right, okay. Anyway, we have experts in the house. We'll be going on break now. And when we come back, we'll introduce our guest to you to talk about the effectiveness of education. Don't go nowhere.
When you think about it, there's a lot to celebrate in our lives. From the smallest milestones to our biggest moments, we'll pamper you at High Impact Planet. Whatever the occasion, let's celebrate you at High Impact Planet, where fun just got real.
If you're just tuning in, you're watching Tea or Coffee on your station, High Impact Television. All right, we are talking today on the effectiveness of education, and joining us in the studio is Mr. Gbenga Jasper, the author and publisher of Watershed Publication. He also has been teaching in the primary sector for the past 15 years. Welcome, Mr. Gbenga.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, ma'am.
All right. Oh, I said Mr. Gbenga, Mr. Jasper. Which one?
Yeah, Gbenga Jasper. Anyone is
Gbenga Jasper.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. You've been in the sector, primary sector, for 15 years and counting now?
Yeah, 15 years
Yes.
officially.
Officially.
Yeah, so if you need to count the other years, yeah, we'll be having roughly close to 20 years.
Wow.
Yes. I'm still a teacher, mind you.
Oh, no. When you were younger, was that your aspiration to
No.
become a teacher?
Not really. When you're growing up, you have so many things in mind. You want to become a doctor, lawyers, engineers. Those were, yeah. But, life experience shape other things. As you grow up, you see so many things. You have other things to know. So those things actually shape my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why primary sector?
Yeah. Primary sector, I found myself in that area. I've been very close to children. And after some time, I never had a mind of going through education. But I have a passion for it. I have passion for children. I have passion for learning.
All right. Okay. So thinking back, or with the experience that you have,
Yeah.
do you think that education is as effective as it used to be? Or it's better now? What do you think?
I think after some time, I can't really say perceive the particular time that, well, I say the standard dropped in. Some people didn't actually meet up with the set standard.
What are the set standards?
The set standard, we should be able to, at least a Nigerian child should be able to compete with any other child all over the world.
Okay.
That is why we have a UNESCO topics. That yes, you have a standard everywhere. You have some questions you need to expose the children to. So that I believe one thing about education. Education shouldn't be meant for, shouldn't be a narrow way thing. It shouldn't just be harrowed at passing a particular exam. When you say education at any level, you should be able to compete with any child of that age, of that level. So many things have actually gone bad, especially in the public sector. That is why you see so many private schools springing up here and there.
Okay.
And we have checks and balances also by the ministry.
Okay. So how would you define effective education? Like education that is effective, how would you define it?
Yeah, we have, we look at it from different angles, from different perspectives. What is obtainable in the rural area is different from what is obtainable in the urban area. We look at it, we look at the tutu child, bringing out a tutu child in education. Some see it as leisure, some see it as you have to go through a rigorous process. I went to public school. I'm actually a product of a public school. But those days, yes, we still had values. We had morals, unlike now, that things have actually gone bad.
Okay.
So many things have changed. Propensity for wealth and so many other things.
Okay. So what are the things that you actually noticed and the things that you really want back in the society and you wished for? Or that you wish for?
What I actually noticed, I think the very first place we need to look at it, we have to look at the government actually controls everything. Yes, there should be at least rules guiding and ensuring that those rules are actually followed.
Okay.
Yeah, those days we used to have inspectors coming to school. I think they lack those things now. Private schools, I don't know how private schools are being run, are being managed. I don't know the rules for opening up schools to these. We have AVIC teachers in some schools. Some schools, the teachers are not trained. And you can only give what you have. If you don't know it, you don't know it. There's no two way about it.
Yes.
Is it that the inspectors, they don't come at all, or they don't
To
come
check.
as often as before?
They hardly come.
They hardly.
They hardly come. If you take a survey around the schools, they will tell you maybe they only visit their school once in a session. Not to talk about a term.
Wow.
So those areas, we need to look into them. That is why we see so many people, educators coming up, educational advocates springing up, in the private sector, trying to give the educational a new face. So many young technocrats. Gone are those days whereby you believe NC is the ultimate.
Yeah.
But those NC and grade 2 teachers of those days, yes, they really teach the values. But technology has also taken over. You need to upgrade yourself.
Yes.
Update yourself as the trend move. So those are the things really.
Yeah, so, that's why I even wanted to ask you, because when you talk about the effectiveness of education, we can also link it to the quality of education.
Yes.
And with all you've been saying, it means that the quality of education has actually dropped
It has
compared
actually
to what we had
dropped.
before.
Yes, compared to what we had before. In
So-
terms of everything, really. When I say in terms of everything, you don't just, when we talk about education is just not just going to school to learn how to read and write.
Okay.
Some believe you just have to cram everything. At the end of the day, the exam period, you download everything. It shouldn't be. We talk about morals. We talk about those values. We talk about discipline. There's no discipline these days.
Because parents don't even allow.
Parents, yes. The problem we have these days now, parents will say, I suffered. I went to public school. I don't want my children to go through all those things. The reality They don't tell them the reality. That is why at the end of the day, when they finish from school, they can't face things. They still have to get a nanny. They still have to get a house help to assist them. Yeah, we face it. If we had not actually faced it then, I don't think we have any result today. We won't be able to face.
Okay. That's actually what made them.
Yeah, that was what actually made them. They were actually refined.
Like now.
But now they're like, no. I don't want my child to do this. I don't want. Yeah. It's not about spanking. It's not about beating. But those values, let them know the reason why they're coming to school. Let them know that, yeah, they have a future of their own to live. They don't have to live the future, the life of their parents or of any of their siblings. Yes, those luxuries were not there then. But the luxuries we had then, we still really enjoyed it. We still really enjoy it. But today, you ask today's child, what's this, what's that? I don't know it. My mommy says it's this. My daddy said it's this. The fear is not there. The discipline is not there.
So what then would you describe as an ideal school?
An ideal school? Ideal school is a total school whereby, yes, the teaching. Then when you talk about the teaching, the environment, you have to consider the environment.
Yeah.
Because if you have a school beside a market, it's not really conducive for learning.
Sure.
You have to consider the environment.
I remember when I was in primary school, those are some of the things I was taught about the ideal school. And one is that it must be far from the building.
That's also true.
When I pass through and I see signboard of some schools, that thing just kept ringing. But when I was in primary school, I was taught that it must be far so that there won't be any distraction and everything. But these days, you see some schools in a compound with other tenants.
That's also true.
You just occupy one space and you will see the signboard.
money making
And you wonder how that school got government approval.
International school.
No. Most of them, they are not approved.
Really?
With such schools. I don't think there's no any reasonable government that will approve such schools.
No, but there are some that they actually put government approved.
How many schools? For instance, if you take Lagos State, if you look at Alemosho, that should be the largest local government. The number of schools there, I can't give the figure. You just see a school springing out. Yeah, you see international schools. I don't know what made them international really in the first place. I don't know the criteria for having an international school. So you have to look at it from that, at least. The environment, the school itself. I don't know. You see, wow, the quality of teachers really matters in any school. The quality of teachers.
All right.
It goes a long way.
Okay. So I was actually coming to that.
Yeah.
You know, can we say that the reason why the quality of education has dropped is because we don't have efficient teachers? Like, I know I had one English teacher back in the days where, you know, it was always teaching us even things that were not even in the syllabus, just for us, so we can match up with other schools outside.
That is how education should be. In our book, we expose them to international curricula, so that when they go out, they meet other people from other schools. Some is not all parent that can afford them to travel out, so that they won't have that complexity will not set in for them, really. So the quality of teaching, you know, most people go into teaching these days now, maybe because of unemployment.
Okay.
Just like, okay, let me just teach
All right.
to while away time.
Okay, like the saying goes, that education is what remains after you've forgotten what you learned in school. Okay, we're going to go on a break right now, and when we come back, we'll introduce also another guest joining us on this program. We'll be speaking with Benga Jasper, and he's an educationist, he's from the primary school sector, and also an author and a publisher. We'll be right back.
You're welcome back. Of course, you're still on to Tea or Coffee on High Impact TV, the first full HD TV station in Nigeria. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about the effectiveness of education in this present age. And of course, we have been talking to Mr. Gbenga Jasper. Yes, Mr. Gbenga Jasper. And now we have our second guest in the studio with us. His name is Otumba Gbemi Oyeniyi. And I will just be giving you some, tips, his profile. So he is a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants, FIMC Nigeria, member of the International Council of Management Consulting Institutes, ICMCI, is an accounting graduate of the University of Lagos with a multidiscipline and multicultural working experience in business strategy, tender evaluation, business negotiation, and consultancy. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about the effective of education in this present age. You finished from University of Lagos. What are the things when you were in primary school that you know that has affected or has imparted into you to make you who you actually have become?
Well, that's going to be a bit challenging, and the reason is because primary school, what did we really learn? Some of us didn't have the opportunity to attend maybe nursery school or whatever.
All right.
So it was just the public school, and yeah, it wasn't the best of what should be. But it gave us the opportunity, because if it was not available, then some of us would never had the opportunity to go to school at all. We should appreciate the fact that, yeah, the opportunity was there, and at least to start and then get the basics of, how to communicate and then learn basic maths and, so it was the best that, was available, for the common people. So. And that laid the foundation anyway. So that's okay.
There's always, people believe that the foundation is very, very important when it comes to education. Gbenga, I'm directing the question to you right now. Okay, do you actually believe, or do you agree with that foundation, primary school education is the foundation, and it is very important to have a solid foundation from the start?
Yeah, primary school education, without having primary school education, at least, is an eye-opener to the high school education.
Okay.
Really. That's actually a business. Yeah. Another thing is, like Otumba rightly said, you actually thank God for those education then. Mm-hmm. You lay a foundation.
Yes.
And when you move, maybe you didn't really get the best of education when you're in your primary school. By the time you get to secondary school, at least, you begin to see the light very well.
Okay, you are saying that even if the foundation, if the primary school is not so good,
yeah, you can shape it along. Yes,
you can still work your way through.
Work your way. True.
So that means maybe the popular saying is really, really, really not right then. Because people always say that foundation, so they spend so much sending their children to nursery, primary school, that because they say, oh, it's the foundation, they need to go to the best of the best schools.
Because they can afford it. If they can't afford it, so what happens?
Of course.
If we never attended primary, then how would I have got into secondary? How would I have got into university? So,
all right.
If you can afford it, yes, because the formative age of any child is actually,
the primary
section. So, and in terms of intelligence, exposure, and development, that is where the foundation is laid.
All right.
So if you can afford it, why not? But if you can't, just get the basic, and then life goes on from there.
All right. So how are you able to move forward? Because you said that the primary school you went to wasn't all that. So what actually formed you?
Well, I think there was a stage in life that I actually made a U-turn, and that was when I was 15. And it was just a turning point in my life that I had to become what I know I'm destined to become, despite my pedigree or foundation or root.
Okay.
And at that point also, I had a spiritual encounter that also, helped in that, knowing God and all that, and then refocusing. And with that, I opted to repeat a class just because I wanted to get it right.
You went to secondary school?
Yes, in secondary school. After my class 3, I was meant to move to senior secondary, this class 4, and I said no. Because my class 3 level, I was cheating in class. I was a dullard. I was, you
said no, or the school says?
No, I said no.
Really?
No, I said no. That I wanted to go back, and because I hated math, my English was 0. I failed all the sciences and all that. And I said, yeah, fine. But in those days, they would say if you had some maybe 5 credits or something, yes, you could move to the next class. And I said, no, I don't want to move to next class. I want to go back and be good at math, English, and the sciences. And my mother and my father, they said, in fact, the headmistress had to call me. Is anything wrong? I mean, why would you be allowed to move to class 4 and then you're saying, no, you want to go back?
That's odd.
And that was the turning point in my life. Because when I repeated the class, I started becoming first. Yes.
Wow.
My position before I repeated the class was 32.
Wow.
In a class of maybe about 49 or thereabout.
Wow.
Then I went back, repeated, and came first.
Wow.
And then I started winning prizes in sciences and all that, in accounts. And that was a turning point. So for me, everyone needs to get to a point in life. Because you cannot have an excuse that, because I was born this way or because I grew up in this environment. And that you must get to the point where you have to, own your own life and determine the direction your destiny is going to go. So it's not going to be about, yes, I didn't have a father, I didn't have a mother. I lost my father when I was 17. So, fine, but we must just come to a point where we take hold of our life and determine how far and how well it's going to go.
Okay, let's look at moving from secondary school to university. Now, let me paint a scenario with myself. Going into university, I somehow didn't just, know what to expect going into university. I just had the knowledge of, okay, my dad wants me to go and study mass communication, and, I have to come out with a first class. I have to do better. I have to make him proud. So that was all I knew. Okay, I didn't know what to expect. So how can parents help to ensure that, children go to university and get the quality education that they are paying for? Because, I went there and now I'm like, there are so many things that I could have done if I had known some certain things before I entered, university. So what do you think, can be put in place to probably enlighten, secondary school students that are probably getting ready to go, to the university? What can be done to enlighten them before they enroll?
We had a seminar 2 weeks ago. Lagos organized a conference for unemployed youth, and almost about 1,000, on that, the first, in conjunction with First CRT Consulting. And it's all about mind reorientation. Because we have come to a point in our nation, in our country, in our system, it's no longer about what you go to university to read. So, I mean, it was a 5-day program, and it was all about, hey, because now, number one, even if you have a degree, there are those who have masters, and they're master in law, master in this, and they're doing all sorts of things that, you know, have nothing to do with what they've gone to school. So now parents should let their children know, number one, their own area of interest. That is key. It's no longer about, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be an accountant. I mean, it's normal. We have gone, we've moved to the point that, hey, my child, what do you really want to be? Because you don't need to go to the university to be a musician. You don't need to go to the university for you to be a caterer. So why would you go and waste 4 or 5 years in the university just for you to come out and start learning fashion design? So it's now we encourage people and children and parents first, even though, yes, you have the money, you want to send your children to university, yes, fine. But most importantly, what is their area of interest? So that even though while they are in school, they can be learning or doing or spending extra time to develop their skill and their area of interest.
I remember when I was in secondary school, twice in a month, the principal will bring in professionals, musicians, lawyer, and all the doctors to, we target career talk, where they tell us what to expect. So the students will ask questions about that particular
field. You know.
So in schools today, do we have that? And I know, like I was saying, I'm a lawyer in my country. Those are the things they taught us when I was in primary school. It was when I got to secondary school that I realized that there are other things aside from
being a lawyer,
doctor, and an engineer. So are there things put in place these days?
I think they have the new curriculum they have now. They have vocational training there, vocational skills, which is actually very okay for them right now. Everything still has to do with a child, really. For the father, your parents sent you to the best school in the world, and if you don't have that personal conviction, personal determination that, yes, this is what I actually want to achieve, there's no way. You just come out without nothing, really. So the new curriculum encourages that you have that. You have entrepreneur, you have so many things that's there for the primary and the secondary now, so that it will help the children when leaving school.
Okay.
Then I think there's another thing. The parents also have their own part to play. Gone are those days when you select wife for your kids that this is what I want you to, this is who I want you to marry. Ask what they want. Guide them. They need counseling.
In a case where the child is a special needs child, how do you deal with that kind of child?
We have we have educators for them, really.
Because I see some normal schools where you have children like that, and they put in class, the child is not comprehending what the teacher is saying. It's just occupying space. Yeah. So what are there?
That's just a misguided.
Exactly.
It's just that's.
So imagine you see that in your school. What are the things? How do you?
That is when you look at schools. Standard differ from one school to the other, really. Then what I do in my school might be different from what you do in your school. How do you assess a child?
Okay.
In any school, when you have such, we have some, we call some slow learner, late starter. Yes. So we have different methods in schools, now depending on what that school is actually applying. You don't assess them based on the same level. So at the end of the day, when you set exam, I'm believing that, yes, we know that child is a special child. Are you going to assess that child with that one that is very, very smart in the class? So schools actually have their different ways. Now, it's still left for the school to call the parents, really. When they notice such thing, even the parent might even know, how do we help this child? It's not necessarily a child come out with the first position and second position.
Okay.
So a lot of things you see go into that. That's just it, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can inability to recognize, your assimilation contribute to your success, academic success?
It's not everybody that is going to work. Education, as we see, education is actually a rostrum for you to see. Is a liberation. Is a, how will I call it, a podium. Is an advantage to see beyond ordinary people who do not have that opportunity.
Okay.
So it's not because I cannot assimilate very well, I cannot do better than that. That doesn't mean that's the end of my life. That doesn't mean I can function well in other things. That is why that vocational aspect is very important.
Okay.
It's not everybody that work in the bank. It's not everybody that will become a lawyer.
Okay. All right, Otuba, if you want to employ people, do you look for first class? Do you always?
And I laugh. Well, gone are those days, really.
Yeah.
And now it's about skill. What can you do? In fact, I was just about, to mention that because we've been conducting some interviews, and then I interviewed a guy last week who read mechanical. And, but I mean, I run a fleet, company, and we're looking for people who will be in the technical and the auto care unit. So the guy haven't finished his mechanical. He's in a workshop in Ikeja here, and he's learning, everything about, vehicle, in a mechanic workshop.
Okay.
For him to develop and acquire that skill. And I can tell you, definitely we're going to take him. It's because it's not about what you read anymore. That only gives you the basis for you to speak English and then be able to communicate and then, have some basic knowledge about a field. But now it's about what can you do. Okay. You come to the office for an interview now. They first said, are you computer literate? Can you use, office tools? Can you use PowerPoints? Can you use Excel? Those are the questions we want to ask. Okay. For us to even know where, because, I mean, we run an office where you can't do anything without a system. So how do you even want to work?
I was thinking that the CV, first class is the first thing.
There are so many first class that even to communicate is a problem.
Okay.
Because they are just good at, academic just to cram, and that's all. And then, for example, if you have first class and you're not confident, you can't interact, you can't do other things. And then don't also forget that these days, with the fact that you read BSadmin does not mean you're going to work in in an admin. Right. So it's so everything is being diversified. You must just have something beyond your academic qualification. Okay. Except we are talking about the special skill area, maybe like a doctor, fine. But generally now, it's no longer about whether you're first class or second class. It's just about what can you do.
Okay, that brings me to the question about the books. You're an author.
Yeah.
And there's a particular book that you said it's encompassing all
subjects
and what's it called? You picked from different countries.
Yes.
Because you want them to be of the same level. How do you get to go about that? And is it that you went on internet, you got the curriculum, and then you fixed it? How did you go about it?
Okay, first and foremost, if you look at, I think the problem we really have in Africa, maybe this part of the world really, we make things for our immediate environment.
Okay.
That is why, I say we are not that successful. We don't do things that has international standard. If you look, let's pick a white man for instance. If they do anything, it travels all over the world. It goes all over the world.
Okay.
Then in terms of everything, really.
Okay.
They now look at, let's come back to our country here. Even education. We know the normal things we read, we know the normal things we cram. Yeah, I think it's actually cramming, really.
Yes.
Yes. So when children actually go out, meet other children, or their parents are actually opportunity to send them out, or they can actually afford the luxuries, the complexity sets in. So actually in my book, I noticed that I look at a trend that our exams here actually are at passengers exam. Our questions, then we repeat questions. It's actually confused the children also. Like the primary sector, the entrance exam they do, they believe there's, yes, in as much as a particular book, that's what they have to be using.
Okay.
So are you not telling me that it's only one person that is that person is the most brilliant person out of over 180 million people you are having? So a lot of things, so in our book, we expose children to international curricula. Questions, we saw questions from relevant books. We deal with relevant questions, not past questions. Because one thing we believe in education is moving forward. And there's no need why we should be dwelling in the past. Though we need to look at the past at least to reflect some things really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otumba, you said earlier that, I don't want to, I didn't get the exact word sentence that you said, but it was something in the line of, if you are good, in something, probably singing or, hair making, then there's no need. Are you saying there's no need for such a person to go to a university or go to school?
I said,
no, I'm asking.
While you're even in a university, that you should be encouraged to also spend time to develop a skill. Because number one, I found that our education system is wrong in the fact that we believed you must go to the university to succeed, or for you to have something, or to be special, or to be recognized in the society. That's very wrong. And most of the musicians have actually proved us wrong anyway.
Yes.
So they are quite successful. The footballers have also.
Another day.
I mean,
of having the money and really not know how.
No, you see,
balance it eventually.
That is why we are not saying, oh, don't go to university. No. But that your skill, which at the end of the day could actually be your money making or money spending, whatever, should not be relegated and say, oh, you must go to university first and not develop skill. And that is why we have people who have gotten masters and just coming back to learn catering, coming back to learn fashion designing, coming back to learn, but from the beginning, if the education system is done in a way that, yes, oh, it's good, but develop your skill, acquire whatever, it will, strike a balance.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Our time is fast spent. I know you want to ask more questions.
Obviously.
Yes. Maybe there should be part 2 of this because our time is fast spent now. Yeah, we've been talking with Mr. Gbenga Jasper, the author and publisher of Watershed Publications, and also Otumba Oyegbemi Oyeneyin. Yeah. So Otumba Oyegbemi Oyeneyin, he's a business consultant for the past. You've been doing this for over 15 years.
Since I left the bank. So.
Wow.
Since you left the bank. Wow. So we've been talking, and we've been talking about the effectiveness of education in this present day. Anyway, before we run off, please, one last word to our audience.
Without education, the world is a dull place, really.
Right.
It's a dull place without education, really.
All right. Okay, and Otumba.
Well, with education, develop your skills and your talent.
Okay.
Right. Without education, the world is a dull place. And with education, develop your skills and talent.
Yeah.
And that's how we wrap up on today's episode of Tea or Coffee. So please, if you are thinking of not going to school, have a rethink. because education actually opens the door. Also, do not neglect your skills. I'm Ronke Ashiru.
And I'm Modupe Jacobs.
Tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.